Welcome to the Megacast, our live local daily TV, radio, and streaming show looking into all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. We thank you for joining in as your consolation for probably not getting out of the ticket queue for Taylor Swift tickets locally and across the state yesterday. You get a great consolation to join us here on the Megacast. I'm sorry, that was mean. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you. Let's begin with what's making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page. Our first article comes from Sarah Rahal at the Detroit News. Over the past week, the state of Michigan took quite the jump in average daily COVID-19 cases, in total 12,860, which comes out to about 1,837 cases per day, or a 29% increase in daily cases from a week ago. In addition, the state added 123 deaths over the same time period. This only counts, of course, those cases that are reported directly to the state. It doesn't include those that may be testing at home unless they are contacting their local health department when they test positive and or when they or someone else in their home tests negative. In that case, it may be counted against the state numbers, but the state gets those numbers from the local health departments, and then they put those together and compile them once a week in what we hear here in these updates on a weekly basis. So those numbers could be significantly less. That percentage could be of an increase in cases on average per day over the last week, could be less or could be even more. Again, this is all based on cases that continue to be reported to the state by local health departments. In terms of hospitalizations, good news for Michiganders, as the state saw a decrease over the past week, down from 1,046 adults and 26 children to 842 adults and 19 pediatric patients in hospitals with COVID over the past week, filling 6% of the state's total hospital beds. In terms of guidelines and suggestions, all Metro Detroit local health departments are recommending indoor masking in public settings and in K-12 schools per CDC recommendations, as the rate of infection in these communities has risen from medium to high, according to metrics given out by the CDC. Also making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page from Teresa Baldus at the Detroit Free Press. Prosecutors here in Oakland County, where we originate our broadcast, are looking to throw the book at the alleged Oxford High School shooter who has pled guilty to all crimes that he was charged with for the massacre that occurred on November 30th of last year. If their wishes are granted, the teenager will spend the rest of his life behind bars and will be given no chance for parole. In a statement on Tuesday, Oakland County Chief Assistant Prosecutor David Williams said, quote, "As we previously stated, there have been no plea bargains, no charge reductions, and no sentence agreements. The shooter has been offered and promised nothing. The motion filed on Monday is a formal declaration of our intent to seek the maximum possible sentence in this case," and closed quote. The alleged shooter is scheduled to be sentenced in Oakland County in February of 2023, but because he is a teenager, he is entitled by standard to a quote-unquote Miller hearing, set to determine whether or not a sentence like life without parole is appropriate in this case. His lawyer responded to the prosecutor's office's seeking of life without parole by saying, quote, "I am disappointed by the filing, but not surprised due to the nature of the offenses that," I'll paraphrase, "my client pled guilty to. The Miller hearing will give the court, as well as the public, a good inside look into the difficult home life of my defendant," in this case, I'll paraphrase again, "and what challenges he was facing. I believe that the hearing will show that my client is worthy of an out date and that there is potential for rehabilitation inside the Michigan Department of Corrections." So what will the judge be going off of in this Miller hearing to determine the worthiness of a sentence of life without parole? Among the criteria as listed in this article from the Detroit Free Press's Teresa Baldus, these are among the different requirements, but not all of them necessarily: his background, as well as mental and emotional development. Where are those at? How have those impacted his decision-making as he went into this act of terror, as well as after the fact while he's been in jail and been on trial? His home life, family environment, and character will also be taken into consideration, nature versus nurture and the relationship between those two. His record while incarcerated, were there any demerits on his record while he's been in a local jail awaiting trial and during his trial? The circumstances of the crime, including the extent to which he was involved and how his family or peer pressure may have played a part in his decision-making. Also, lastly, the burden shifts onto the prosecutor in order to prove all of this in a way that's compelling and suggests that life in prison without parole is the proper sentence. They need to show facts that present to the judge why this sentence is quote-unquote proper in this matter. Plenty of more details on this case, the upcoming Miller hearing, and the Oxford shooter's sentencing in February is included in this article. We encourage you to click through and read it in full on our website, civiccentertv.com. Just go to our local news page and click on this headline from the Detroit Free Press. Finally, making headlines today on civiccentertv.com's local news page from Bridge, Michigan. Following years of technical snafus, human error, and downright lackluster systems, the Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency, or UIA, will work to replace its computer system that has led to quite a swath of controversies. The office plans to spend upwards of $78 million over the next decade to replace the system and is looking to finalize a bid that it already has received from Deloitte Incorporated and get the system up and running by 2025. What this means is that the agency is preparing to sunset the Midas system and finally put it where it belongs, in the trash. This won't happen right away, even if its contract with Deloitte is approved and the project is put in motion. It will not immediately eliminate the Midas system, which was installed in 2012 and aimed at flagging cases of potential fraud in the unemployment system, evidently given maybe too many flags to wave around. So plenty of changes are upcoming, necessary changes that have been called upon the Unemployment Insurance Agency to make over the last several years are in motion. Whether or not this contract with Deloitte Incorporated is approved is yet to be determined, but all goes well. A new system will be in place. New set of computer systems will be in place by 2025, replacing those installed in 2012 and the clearly very flawed system that impacted so many people with their unemployment claims over the pandemic, with many people falsely accused by this system and put under investigation by the state for unemployment fraud. And ultimately, we're seeking relief from the state government as allotted during the pandemic while many people were out of work. All of those headlines are on our website today, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page, along with up-to-date information on COVID-19 straight from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at the federal level, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, statewide, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great show ahead on this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we'll talk tourism and travel across the state with Pure Michigan's Odie McKinley. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened.
It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4. Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine. To keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's relish these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID. We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV. Wake up, Greater West Bloomfield. Start your mornings with The Splash and tune in for The Splash Live. Get acquainted with people, places, and activities that are live, local, and for you. First thing in the morning, weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on our Civic Center TV YouTube page, or watch us live at Civic Center TV or on Facebook. The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's live update show.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show looking into all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Our apologies for some of the technical difficulties so far, and also with our apologies, unfortunately, because of these technical difficulties and for time, we're unable to be joined today by Odie McKinley, but we'll try to get him back on very soon to talk more about Michigan travel. In the meantime, we've talked to Pure Michigan and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation that oversees Pure Michigan each and every week. You go to our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, and click through to watch full interviews. You can find our most recent discussion with Odie McKinley that talks about some holiday travel, getting ready for winter here in Michigan. We talked to him last week. We talked to him before the snow came in. So now that the snow is here, even more insights and fun things to do all across the great state of Michigan, courtesy of Odie and his team at Pure Michigan. Of course, you can always go to their website too, michigan.org. They say your trip begins at michigan.org to find more information on winter travel. And of course, all the fun activities for the holidays coming up, including at the end of this week. Go to our local news page on civiccentertv.com, the website for our flagship Megacast station. You'll find an article on the Silver Bells Festival in Lansing, which is coming back for its 38th year on Friday. Plenty of information for that. Always a fun time. I should know I was a student at Michigan State for 3.5 years, and that was always a big event in the Lansing area. I encourage you if you're in the area in Lansing on Friday and over this weekend, check that out. At least check out the tree. A beautiful Christmas spruce will be put up 63 feet tall right in the heart of the capital area of Lansing. Of course, more information can always be found on our program at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Find info on our partnering stations, as well as find all of our full shows and each individual interview on demand as well. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now on the program is one of over 320 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. Jeri Hunley is the founder and president of Single Family Living and joins us now on the Megacast. Jeri, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate having you on as well. You're the founder and the president of this organization. Just tell us a little bit about the history of this organization and what prompted you to find this nonprofit and provide these services that you provide.
So basically, it's the nonprofit organization is based on my life. I'm a single mom. And at the time when I created it, I was going through a lot of trials and tribulations, and I was pregnant and homeless at the time. And eventually, when I was able to reach out to my family to try to assist me, they gathered around me to do everything they can to try to help me. And I knew from personal experience that a lot of single mothers and single parents didn't have that at the time. And still to this day, they don't have the family or the support system that they need in order to support their families and their children. So when I was able to get off of my feet and basically do everything I can in order to better myself and my children, then I was able to think of different ways and avenues in order for me to help others. Because my personal friend, who was also homeless at the time when I was homeless, she died. She died when she was pregnant with her unborn child at the time, and she was homeless. So I knew that I wanted to do something, and I knew I wanted to create an impact for other single parents so they wouldn't have to go through all the trials and tribulations that I did. So I created Single Family Living, where we help and support other single parents with that just unconditional love and support and resources. I founded it in 2013, and ever since then, we've grown within the city of Detroit, throughout Wayne County, Macomb County, and Oakland County. So I'm really excited that we've come a long way.
More information can be found on Single Family Living by visiting their website, singlefamilyliving.org, singlefamilyliving.org, or go to sharedetroit.org and look under the Find a Nonprofit section by just searching Single Family Living to find more information. We're joined on the program today by its founder and president, Jeri Hunley, on the Megacast. Jeri, tell us about Single Family Living's 3-tier plan, because as much as you're providing a bunch of services to single families and people affected by being in a single family situation, there's so much to think about that you want to approach it from a variety of different angles, as no situation is one size fits all.
I'm glad you asked that, because it's so important that as single parents, we get the moral support, not only moral support, but also mental health as well. And that's part of our 3-tier plan, is to make sure that we're helping the children, but also we're helping single parents. So the first tier is we're helping the youth. And through the youth, we're equipping them with mentoring, tutoring, also with STEM programs and literacy programs. The second tier is that we're assisting the parents to help them overcome functional literacy. Just because a lot of families are struggling with reading doesn't mean that they don't know how to read. They're suffering from functional literacy. In addition, the 3rd-tier plan is that mental health is, for certain communities and cultures, is considered to be taboo. And we want to try to break those barriers with mental health and providing awareness, in addition to strengthening affordable housing and any type of housing development that we're trying to work with the city of Detroit to create what is now really hard to find affordable housing for single parents. At this time, they're considerably becoming homeless.
We're joined by Jeri Hunley on today's edition of the Megacast. She is the founder and the president of Single Family Living. More information can be found on their website, singlefamilyliving.org. Information on resources, programs, their initiatives, ways you can also get involved as a volunteer, and certainly by supporting their efforts through donations. Singlefamilyliving.org, or you can find them as well on Share Detroit's website at sharedetroit.org. And Jeri, single family situations have a variety of different origin points. Sometimes it's from the jump, and sometimes it's something that happens in the process of parenting. It could be years in, whether it be a tragedy in the family or simply just divorce can put parents and put these kids in these situations where they're living in a single family home or single family home environments as well. So who qualifies for these programs and initiatives that you're providing, and how do they typically get in contact with you, as reaching out for help and finding those resources can often be pretty tough?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, we are referral based. A lot of the families that we help are referrals. And because we go into the different schools and we have a relationship that we build with school administration and also with social workers, a lot of the resources that we have share is through the school base. So, we also work with and collaborate with other organizations within the 3 counties that I stayed at, Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne. So definitely, if you or your child is in need, we definitely would love to hear from you. You can go on our website, singlefamilyliving.org, and reach out to us or contact us through email at info@singlefamily.org. But we definitely don't have a problem with assisting single parents. How they are qualified is that just be a single parent. Whether you are a single mom, a single dad, or a single grandfather, grandmother, as long as you are providing resources and you are a guardian of a child that's under 18, and you will have under resource, then we'll be able to try to assist you and try to help you with whatever you need. In addition to that, we provide human services support as well, clothes, books, free books, also any type of mentoring and tutoring sessions for STEM programs within the school systems. So we are always trying to figure out different avenues to try to help the single parents.
More information, again, can be found singlefamilyliving.org, singlefamilyliving.org. When these parents do reach out and when they do get in contact with Single Family Living, how do you and your organization approach supporting these families? Because as we mentioned previously, there are so many different circumstances under which someone becomes a single parent or a family ends up in a single parent situation. So how does that support begin, and then where does it go from there?
Well, it basically begins with our caseworkers. Our caseworkers is the first line of communication. And they begin with asking the most important information about them and their kids. And it's confidential information that help us identify the resources, what type of resources that they need from their homes. And it's basically a customized program specifically gathered around what that particular family needs. So say, for instance, they call in and they need help with clothing. And then on top of that, a parent just needs help with finding resources of how to get back into the school and finish college. Then we try to figure out a way and create goals to help that single parent, or if they need any type of resources to help their child get back on track at their schools, then we reach out to that school that the child goes to, and we try to work with the school system to assist the child. So it is basically a customized program. It's not a one size fit all for a particular family, because each family is unique that we help.
More information, again, can be found in as well as ways you can get in contact with Jeri and the team at Single Family Living by going to singlefamilyliving.org. We're going to sharedetroit.org as well, and searching for Single Family Living under their Find a Nonprofit section. Jeri, you mentioned that the organization, you founded it in 2013. Certainly over the last few years, we've seen the world change in a variety of different ways, and it's definitely impacted our parents. And I would imagine that is fivefold, tenfold, or more for our single families. How did COVID-19 impact both your organization, but also the ways that you need to interact with these single parents and these families that are under a single parent situation to help them through what we're all going through in this world right now, but certainly under much different circumstances for them?
I would say that's an excellent question. So the pandemic was rough. It was really, really rough for not only for a lot of families, organizations, and nonprofits, but especially single parents. There was an abundance of calls and emails. We got at least 200 emails daily from single parents all over Michigan, and including other states, stating that they needed help, that they lost their jobs, they're the only provider for their family, and if they don't get the help that they need, then they're gonna be homeless within maybe a week or two, which was heartbreaking. And because there's only so much that we can do as a nonprofit organization. So we found ourselves as a nonprofit organization reaching out more to other organizations and finding ourselves collaborating with other organizations within Michigan and also through other states as well to try to find the resources for single parents. I say the biggest thing right now that has carried over to from the pandemic is the post-pandemic traumatic situation where it's mental health problems from loss that the children and the family is receiving. And then not only that, it's finding affordable housing. What is that considered to be now? Is it affordable anymore? So that's some of the questions that we're being asked, and trying to find affordable housing for a single family is like finding a needle in a haystack, unfortunately. So those are some of the things that we're still dealing with and have dealt with from the pandemic.
In terms of volunteers and certainly of donations financially and other resources as well, what are the greatest needs for single family living at this time?
The greatest need is donations, is financial donations, because we use those funds in order to support single parents and single parent homes with scholarships for daycare, because daycare has skyrocketed. Everything is skyrocketing at this time, and everybody's blaming it on the pandemic. And this one of the big things that we are definitely in need is funding, so we can provide 1 month rent for a single family to prevent them from being homeless, or maybe just to help them get the food that they need, because majority of the single parents do not qualify for any type of state funding, regardless of what type of myth that society has displayed on single parents. They don't qualify for funding. Majority of the time, single parents is looking for just a hand up, so they can help themselves out of the situation. And so that's one of the biggest things. And then the second thing that we definitely need is volunteers. We noticed that there was a huge decline in volunteers that was basically supporting us in different communities. And we really are in need of the volunteers as well.
Again, more information can be found, including on ways you can volunteer and certainly how you can donate to the organization by visiting singlefamilyliving.org. Singlefamilyliving.org is their website, and you can also go and get more information by visiting sharedetroit.org. Sharedetroit.org for more information too. And again, their website, singlefamilyliving.org. Jeri, before we let you go, any other information that would be important for our audience to consider about single family living, or anything you'd like to say to those that are in a single parent situation right now that may be in need of support?
Yes, I actually have a lot to say, but to cut it short, one of the projects that we're working on is definitely helping with community development for single families throughout the Tri-County area. And another thing that we're working on for the children in the school systems is a mobile learning center that we can go from one hub to another hub to try to help them with STEM education and basically build up those reading levels and math levels and science scores that has been traumatically down since the pandemic. And what I would personally say to the families that are struggling, keep trying and keep trying to reach out to organizations, because we're out here fighting for you guys, and we are making sure that we try to support as many families as we can, and we're all, as nonprofit organizations, are collaborating with each other so we can help as many families as possible. And I appreciate you guys giving me the platform to share our resources to our families.
We appreciate having you on, Jeri, as well, and telling us more about these resources, and certainly thanking you for the service that you and your organization and your volunteers especially are providing to these individuals and to these single parent families as well. Jeri, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Singlefamilyliving.org is their website. You can also go to sharedetroit.org and go under their Find a Nonprofit section to learn more about single family living. Again, that's sharedetroit.org. You click on their Find a Nonprofit section, and there you'll be able to learn more about 320 nonprofits across the state of Michigan, including single family living, by just searching single family living, and find more information on ways to get in contact, ways to get involved, any events they may have up, items that they may need off of a wish list, and certainly ways that you can get involved by volunteering and donating as well for all 320 of these charities and nonprofits. ShareDetroit.org. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, there's plenty to discuss on local, state, and federal politics, and even the impact that they're having each on global politics with Dave Dulio from Oakland University. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Hey, Laker fans, do you know a friend or neighbor that volunteers in Greater West Bloomfield? We would love to help you recognize them at the 51st Annual Michigan Week Awards. Countless members of the communities of Orchard Lake, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and West Bloomfield give their time and talent daily without regard for recognition. You can help recognize these individuals and organizations at our awards breakfast next year on May 12th, 2023. Nominate your neighbor or organization starting January 28th, 2023. Go to MichiganWeek.org for details.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream lives on with United We Walk, an event that celebrates Dr. King Jr.'s birthday by embracing unity, diversity, and acceptance. Volunteer, participate, or donate to bolster your community and engage with your fellow citizens. For more information, scan the QR code on screen or go to unitedwewalk.org. Show your support Sunday, January 15th, 2023, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the new West Bloomfield Middle School.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about our program by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com, and you can click on our Megacast link or just type civiccentertv.com/Megacast and find links to all of our partnering TV, radio, and streaming outlets locally and all across the state of Michigan in your area and more, and find all of our full shows and each individual interview on demand. Again, the website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Well, the 2022 election cycle is over, and already within hours of that being over, or mostly over across the board, we'll move on to 2024 and the impact of this year's decisions by the electorate on the presidential race. That will certainly be very interesting coming up in just a little over a year. Joining us now on the program to talk about that and more is Oakland University's Dave Dulio, professor of political science and director of its Center for Civic Engagement. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, good morning, Tyler.
Good to have you on with us. Appreciate having you on. First off, let's talk about the impact of what happened on last week, Tuesday, on the future of Michigan politics. In particular, what was significant was the Democratic takeover in the state. The top three positions, really not a whole big surprise there, although a couple of them were quite competitive near the finish line, those being the governor and especially the attorney general's race. But all three of those top positions going back to the incumbent Democrats. But what goes beyond that is both houses of the legislature, the House of Representatives and the state Senate, both also going Democrat. So they're in charge of of both the legislative branch and the executive branch here in the state of Michigan. What impact do you believe that's going to have on the last 4 years of the Whitmer administration, but also the future for Governor Whitmer beyond being our governor?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Tyler. Let's start with this. I think the impact in Michigan is going to be significant and hard to tell just how far, but I think it'll bring broad changes, right? I mean, Democrats now have unified party government to deal with. They are in charge of everything. If they can keep their legislative caucuses together and keep those majorities voting in a cohesive manner, they can pass whatever they want, right? They can do whatever they want. And I think the big question now is how quickly do they move on some of their wish list items? How aggressive do they get with pushing their agenda? I think there's a couple ways they could go, at least a couple ways they could go. One is to put the pedal to the metal and really move aggressively to bring up and pass some of the most prioritized pieces of legislation that they might have. But the other one is a slower and more sort of managed approach. And I think that there's reason to believe in pumping the brakes, because they have these very thin majorities, just a vote or two in each chamber, and they lose, right? So if they moved, and in addition, some of those seats that they just won that helped them get the majority were won by very small margins. Sometimes those seats were decided by a few hundred votes. So it's not like this is a huge mandate for the legislature. So I think you can make a case for either one being the right move for the Democrats. My hunch is that they're going to be more in the former category rather than the latter.
Yeah, I would think that the strategy going forward has to be thinking about the impact that this is going to have because of the close competition numbers wise in both chambers and the thin lead that the Democrats did take from this election, that you're going to want to take a more measured approach to going forward with your politics statewide, simply because this election doesn't mean that you're going to have both chambers of the House for the next 4 years. There are other elections coming up that can also be close.
I think that's right, but that's another reason for them to move quickly, right? Is they don't know how long they're going to have this, right? So strike while the iron is hot. But at the same time, you're right on the money that that, it's close. The governor's race was a sizable margin, but at the state house and state Senate level, it was pretty much 50-50, right? I mean, in terms of seats won and statewide vote, so it's not like this is a big shift in voting trends within Michigan. We've seen this before. We've seen this throughout Michigan's last 40 or 50 years, where there's great competition here, and between the two major parties. So it's not like this is a huge seismic shift where Michigan is now this true blue state. That's just not the case.
Yeah, and we even saw from some polling and also across the board, not just in Michigan, but around the country, that a lot of those moderates and those independents that were going for Democratic candidates in this election were voting on the issues at bay, particularly abortion also. And so that's got to be a consideration. And even beyond that, I think going forward, another huge consideration is going to be what goes forward with the Michigan GOP, with the Michigan Republican Party, because now after the 2022 election, definitely some big decisions to make for the Republican Party at the national level, but also at the statewide level as they're looking for a new chairman. And already many people throwing their names their names out there. We've heard Matthew DePerno is considering going for the chairman position. We've heard a couple other candidates, even the Detroit News earlier on this week reporting that Tudor Dixon, the former GOP candidate for governor in the 2022 election, may also be considering running for GOP chairman. What is the outlook right now for the Republicans? What really are they considering at a statewide level to put themselves in a better position for 2024 especially, but also for the future beyond that too, and even looking forward to 2026, next time that they'll be eligible to have someone run for governor?
Yeah, I think the choice in Michigan for Republicans is the same one that they're facing nationwide, and that's, do you continue to sort of go down the Trump path, or do you change it up and go back to something that's maybe more familiar, which would be the more establishment wing of the party, and that would that's not Matt DePerno or even Tudor Dixon for that matter, right? I mean, Matt DePerno would continue the Republicans down that Trump path, and I think that there's danger in that for the Republicans if they continue with Trump, right? I mean, and we can get into his announcement from last night if you want to, but if they continue down the Trump path, they're bucking history. They're trying to buck history. Because yes, Trump was successful in 2016, no doubt about it, and he brought new voters to the Republican Party. He helped them do much better with working class folks, and honestly with Hispanic Americans, African Americans in the last several cycles. But a sustainable winning coalition has not been produced. Right, 2016. An incredible victory for Republicans. 2018, they got beat in a typical midterm year. 2020, they lose, although they gained a few seats in the House. And then 2022, huge disappointment, right? Where and Republicans really suffered in areas where Republicans need to do well if they're going to win future elections. And they struggled with the same kind of voters that Trump got in 2016 and then lost in the following cycles. And honestly, they are voters that are like many folks right here in Oakland County. And Gretchen Whitmer won Oakland County by about 150,000 votes. Republicans can't win statewide with that kind of deficit.
We're joined by Dave Dulio on today's edition of the Megacast. He is the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, where he also was a professor of political science. You mentioned it, Dave, and it's arguably right now the biggest news in the political realm domestically in the U.S., certainly not internationally, but definitely in the U.S. Donald Trump last night announcing his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election and a speech at Mar-a-Lago. And this was a little bit of a different approach that we've seen from Donald Trump in this speech than has typically been in the past. A little bit of mixture of a new approach and some of that Donald Trump of old in this speech that was at times very pointed and other times really kind of taking a step back and maybe trying to recapture some of those people he lost in 2022. What is his approach right now in terms of looking at the outlook, both in the Republican Party and his standing there, but also nationwide, especially with the Democratic surge, so to speak, in 2022 and the further emergence of Ron DeSantis in the Republican Party nationally?
Yeah, I think the speech last night was a mixture, and I think that was Trumpian in so many ways. With the kind of over the top entrance music, his tried and true Lee Greenwood song, but also some pre-music from Les Mis, and of course, kind of the opulence of the room he was in at Mar-a-Lago, and some of the rhetoric that he used, right? He exaggerates a little bit here and there and speaks in hyperbole, which we're used to, right? But at the same time, it was kind of toned down for at least the first half of the speech, and he really stuck to the teleprompter a lot more in the first part of the speech, and then as he got maybe more into it and I dare I say more comfortable, he started to ad lib more and sort of use his improv skills, which I think is really where his base likes him to be. It was a little, it wasn't as exciting when he was just reading from the teleprompter, and exciting, I've used that in quote marks, but I think that we're going to be measuring Trump versus DeSantis now for at least a year until we start to see primaries in 2024. So I don't think that the Trump speech did anything to Ron DeSantis's plans. I think they're going to be on their own timetable and do what they want to do. And I think that's the smart thing, right? If Ron DeSantis is as good a candidate as many think that he is, he's not going to let one speech by a rival mess with their plans. Frankly, I think the bigger threat to DeSantis is other Republicans who may want to run for president as the Trump alternative, whether it's Ted Cruz or Tim Scott or Nikki Haley or one of the other ones that are out there, right? The danger for DeSantis or any of those other ones is that they'll splinter what I think is a growing sentiment in the GOP to move on from Trump. And if they just split up that vote and fractionalize it, that gives Trump a pretty clear path to the nomination.
Yeah, all eyes on 2024 as we'll get a lot clearer of an outlook for where that goes, particularly on the Republican Party as the 2022 dust settles and the GOP decides where they're going in the future, with lots of questions even within the party right now about the standing of Donald Trump and his representation of Republicans. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. You can always keep up to date with what's going on at the Center for Civic Engagement, especially as we go into what's expected to be another tumultuous, interesting, and at times maybe even entertaining 2024 presidential election cycle by going to their website, oakland.edu/CCE, oakland.edu/CCE. That will do it for this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to both our guests, Jeri Hunley and Dave Dulio, for joining us on the program. Thank you to you for tuning in as always. And you can keep up to date with us on our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Learn more about all of our partnering stations by clicking through to their links on our Megacast page, but also find our full shows and each individual interview on demand if you're just tuning in now, or you've tuned in pieces over the course of the program, or just certain topics of information such as Michigan politics or nonprofits in the state that you can support are more of your speed. You can watch us anywhere, anytime. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That's it for today's show. Over to me. Appreciate it. You can always keep up to date with what's going on at the Center for Civic Engagement, especially as we go into what's expected to be another tumultuous, interesting, and at times maybe even entertaining 2024 presidential election cycle by going to their website, oakland.edu oakland.edu/CCE, oakland.edu/CCE. That will do it for this Wednesday edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to both our guests, Jeri Hunley and Dave Dulio, for joining us on the program. Thank you to you for tuning in as always. And you can keep up to date with us on our website at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Learn more about all of our partnering stations by clicking through to their links on our Megacast page, but also find our full shows and each individual interview on demand if you're just tuning in now, or you've tuned in pieces over the course of the program, or just certain topics of information such as Michigan politics or nonprofits in the state that you can support are more of your speed. You can watch us anywhere, anytime. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That's it for today's show. We'll return soon.